I love you. It'll pass.
Nope.
I'm gonna be sick.
Love is awful.
So, it's been a good few years now since I watched Fleabag for the first time. And despite what the priest said,
It'll pass.
it still has not passed at all for me. Which got me thinking as to why that is, and why Fleabag and The Priest's love story hit me and left more of an impression on me than a lot of other on-screen couples do, especially in such a short period of time. So I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive and talk about that today. So let's do it.
This is a love story.
I think the easiest excuse you could probably give as to why Fleabag, and particularly the ending, sticks with you is because it's unhappy, or sort of bittersweet, I would say, like not fully satisfying in terms of a romantic storyline. But I don't think that's it, because if that was the case, then all you'd have to do is make the ending of a romance unhappy and people would love it and consider it a masterpiece, and that is not the case.
But I'm not sure that's true.
So there is something deeper to it than that. For me, I think it's ultimately going to come down to how well written the show and the characters are. Like, they're so human, flawed, nuanced. It seems like quite an obvious thing, but it's not that easy to write really real human characters, especially two that complement each other so well. I think another thing you could say is looking at the tropes. It's like a modern day forbidden romance, I suppose.
He's a priest.
And modern day forbidden romances are actually really difficult to do, because aside from maybe infidelity, what is there really that's forbidden about two people being together? Like, forbidden romance is really when you're getting into like warring nations in a fantasy novel, or you're going back to like Regency era and there was an actual class problem. But Fleabag does manage to actually do a forbidden romance through the fact that it's a priest who is not allowed to have sex or get married.
Just please tell me how to not fuck a priest before I get arrested.
So again, I don't think that's the reason, but I think it's worth mentioning that it's rare to see a forbidden romance story done so well in a contemporary modern setting. So I just want to congratulate Phoebe Waller-Bridge for that.
Thank you!
So I do think an interesting thing with Fleabag is that the priest doesn't show up until season 2, which means we have a lot of context as to Fleabag's character, who she is as a person, what her flaws are. So when the priest shows up and understands and sees all that about her in a non-judgmental way, I think that's where we start to see this sort of kindred spirits, even kind of like soulmate connection between them.
Just a girl with no friends and an empty heart.
No, I'm a big reader with no friends. Are you a cool person?
Or I am completely fucking alone.
I'm really fucking lonely.
I mean, what we know about Fleabag and her demons, she's dealing with the death of her mother and her best friend. Her dad's really emotionally, like, inept. She's got an abusive stepmother-to-be / godmother. Her and her sister have a really strange relationship. The whole Martin thing, she's like a sex addict. She's dealing with the guilt of Boo's death. All this stuff is happening with Fleabag, which makes it quite difficult, I think, prior to season 2 to understand the type of person that would be able to deal with that, and the type of person that would help her heal and help her genuinely be happy. But throughout the course of season 2, when we get to know the priest, he's a really, really messed up person as well. As far as I'm concerned, the reason he's a priest was because he was pretty much faithless and he needed something to live for.
Did you always want to join the priesthood?
Oh, fuck no.
And it was kind of a way to outrun his problems. Like, he's very clearly an alcoholic, or I'm not sure if I would say he's an alcoholic yet. I think he's maybe like a pre-alcoholic, and his parents were both alcoholics.
Oh, fun. My parents are alcoholics.
Oh, great.
His brother, he doesn't speak to.
Because he's a paedophile.
He also makes sort of really subtle references a couple of times in passing commentary, which I think is very easy to overlook, but I think in the wider context of his character adds a bit more backstory and depth when he mentions that in joining the priesthood, he's found a lot of peace in it. Like when he's talking to Fleabag in the garden and he mentions that he's had sex basically a lot of times before he found that.
How many times?
Many.
Almost implies he was probably a bit like Fleabag. I mean, I think both Fleabag and the priest have very addictive personalities. So it wouldn't surprise me if one of the reasons he became a priest was as his way to force himself to be a better person.
Celibacy is a lot less complicated than romantic relationships.
Like for Fleabag, her coping mechanism is like her fourth wall break, is having the audience, which I think in reality, in her own head, is really her sort of dissociating and sort of just making humorous commentary in her own head, maybe even imagining that she's still talking to Boo or her mum. But yeah, her coping mechanism in terms of the show is a fourth wall break. Whereas the priest, I think, was to join the priesthood.
I've sacrificed a lot for this life.
I think that's kind of clear as well, because in the same way that in the confessional, Fleabag said,
I just think I want someone to tell me how to live my life, Father, because so far I think I've been getting it wrong.
like what to wear in the morning, how to be. I don't think I'm doing life right. Like I need someone to just tell me what to do, like a child, basically. I think that's exactly what the priest thought and how he felt. I also think that's probably why he kisses her, because he sees so much of himself in her in that moment. He definitely already did prior to that moment, but I think that was just like the final nail in the coffin. And it was like a verbal confirmation of exactly that. I think the reason that he became a priest was to have guidance, just to be able to be like, well, I serve God now. I don't serve myself and my demons. I serve God. I can't be in relationships. I have to be celibate. I have to do this job. And the reason I think that, and for me it's confirmed, is I think it's the next episode, just before they sleep together, when he goes round to Fleabag's house. He says,
I don't think you want to be told what to do at all. I think you know exactly what you want to do. If you really wanted to be told what to do, you'd be wearing one of these.
and for me that just confirms, if you wanted to be told what to do, you'd wear one of these, because that's exactly what I did. And that's such a specific feeling to have. And it's something I imagine, if you felt that way, would be quite difficult to find other people who felt that same way. So when these two find each other and they share that, this is what I mean by like kindred spirits, soulmates.
I can't have sex with you because I'll fall in love with you. And if I fall in love with you, I won't burst into flames, but my life will be fucked.
And I mean, those confessional scenes and the scenes in the house for me are where it's verbally confirmed, but it's pretty evident that they sort of sense this on, I guess, a spiritual level, if you want, from the first episode. Like, if you watch the first episode closely, not scrolling on your phone and paying attention to the subtext and the body acting, the priest is kind of obsessed with Fleabag before they've even spoken a word to each other. They're kind of looking at each other, I guess, because who are you? They haven't been introduced yet. But the priest clearly fancies Fleabag. He definitely fancies her. Like, he even says...
He never told me you had a sister, Claire.
Oh, well, we,
Like, the way he says it is like, it's polite, but it's in this sort of slightly accusing tone. So I think it's really clear he understands that Fleabag has this conflict with her family and that she is probably the black sheep. And I think that's something he feels like he can relate to.
You want some more wine?
Oh, yes.
I mean, he senses the fourth wall break all the way through the season, but I would argue he doesn't first notice it in the garden. I would argue that the priest first recognises Fleabag's fourth wall in that dinner episode, the first episode, because as soon as Fleabag thinks, no one's asked me a question in 45 minutes, and before she can even finish a sentence, he asks her a question.
No one's asked me a question in 45
So
minutes.
what do you do?
And it's really intently, he's sort of turned towards her, he's looking at her, making eye contact.
I run a cafe.
And it's, to me, it's like he could sense that she was feeling left out, feeling ignored on a level that no one else feels that. To me, that was the first sign of a fourth wall break. He might not have looked at the camera or questioned it, but I think from the moment they met, he saw her. he saw her fourth wall break. Not only that, but again in the first episode, if you watch the way he fills up her glass without her asking, he keeps shooting looks at her. I just feel like they're telepathically on the same wavelength from the second they meet.
Are you a real priest?
Yeah.
And if you haven't watched Fleabag in a while, but even if you have, you should just go back and watch that first episode, like almost frame by frame in slow motion. Just look at the body acting and the sort of small looks they give each other, because it's incredible. Another way I think he immediately trusts Fleabag and he feels like he knows Fleabag is when they're smoking outside together and she walks in and he says,
Fuck you, then.
because why would anyone really, but why would a priest who is a guest at this family dinner, they don't even know each other. He doesn't know how she's going to take that, whether she's going to take it as a joke, or whether it would make her mad. Or does he know? I think he does know, because I think he knows her, even though they don't know each other yet, because I think they're kindred spirit soulmates. He knew that she would find that funny. And how would you know that about someone? Sometimes you just know. There's just a feeling, there's an unspoken chemistry, you're on the same wavelength and you understand someone fundamentally before you've even spoken. And I think this is a perfect example of that type of relationship. I do also think it's worth mentioning that after the fight breaks out with Martin, the priest is the only person that stays at the restaurant with Fleabag, even after everyone other than Claire thinks she's literally just had a miscarriage in the bathroom.
If you ever need someone to talk to, I'll be there.
I'm always there.
But sort of beyond the first episode, just through the series in general, I do think they show the priest to have a very different relationship to Fleabag than everybody else. Everyone else doesn't really like to give in to Fleabag or laugh at her jokes. They almost try, like people like her godmother and her father, almost go out their way to make her feel isolated and uncomfortable.
I think you should go.
And even Claire, who loves her, tries not to laugh at her jokes and says, like, don't be funny.
Don't be yourself.
I won't.
I think because Claire feels intimidated by that and wishes that she was funnier. But that's beside the point. The point is that the priest laughs with Fleabag. He finds her funny. He matches her humour. Even when they're in a serious moment, he'll laugh at her joke.
Oh, we can't even wrestle?
Choice.
You have the dress. We can arrange that. They are born, they shit themselves with fear, and then they die.
Don't want it. I've got no pockets. Classic.
And I have already mentioned it, but worth mentioning again, the kindred spirits of them is shown in the fourth wall break, and the fact that no one sees the fourth wall except for the priest.
What was that?
What?
Where did you just go?
No.
Tell me.
Nothing. Nothing. No, stop being so churchy. Oh my God, we're gonna have sex.
For fuck's sake! Stop that!
But to me, this is an exact mirror for the priest and his fox, and the fact that Fleabag sees the fox. Because it could just be a funny joke if you don't think about it that deep. But I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is too clever to have the fox just be a joke. For me, the fox is the priest's fourth wall. You can look at it different ways. I'm pretty sure I saw a comment once that said that the fox was God. I don't know if I believe that, probably because I'm not religious. For me, I think the fox is like his past and his demons, and I think that's why he's always sort of outrunning this fox, because the fox shows up twice in the show. Once when he and Fleabag are discussing celibacy, and when she's effectively asking him questions about his faith and whether he gets tempted or questions his faith.
And you're good for me. You make me question my faith.
And?
I've never felt closer to God.
Fuck you.
What was that? It wasn't a fox, was it?
I don't know.
Is it a fox? Shine something. Boo! Bah! Oh, God, I bet it's a fox.
That's when the fox shows up, And I think that's because he's thinking about it. He sort of shoots her a coy, flirty look at one point, and I think it's like a test of his faith. I also think another equivalent for the fox would be when the paintings fall, because that happens twice. You know, there's not going to be a fox in the church, but the painting falls in the church. So it's almost like the fox appears when he's outdoors, and when he's indoors, it's the paintings falling, which I guess leans into the god allegory, if you want.
I love it when he does that.
But the second time the fox shows up is at the end when he's just told her it'll pass and he's leaving. We know that Fleabag sees the fox in the garden. We know Fleabag sees the fox at the bus stop. I don't think the fox is there. I think the fox is the priest's fourth wall, and I think that's why Fleabag sees it. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. I don't think I am.
Chill out about the fox! Oh, sorry. I just don't know what they want from me.
I think the story is so heartbreaking, and I guess we're sort of heartbroken for Fleabag because she's our POV character, but I actually think it's a far more heartbreaking story for the priest because he can't do anything about it. I mean, he can, and he does, but as I say, from the moment he meets Fleabag, he's into her.
Sorry. Yes, today's...
He tests the limits of that on himself by inviting her into the back room for a drink. Like, he has to drink to escape his thoughts. When Fleabag says she's gonna go and open the cafe, he's like,
Oh, can I see it?
Oh.
He comes to her house. He touches her arm. He's clearly really jealous when he walks over and Fleabag's with the ex-boyfriend whose name I forget now. He's clearly jealous when he finds out that he dated Fleabag.
Oh, cool. Good for you.
And ultimately, the "it'll pass" line, I think, is really so sad because he's telling Fleabag it'll pass. And I think it might take a while, and he'll probably always stay with her. She'll probably always love him. But ultimately, I do think Fleabag will heal and find love again. But he won't. For him, it's not going to pass because that's probably the last love he'll ever know. And that's so sad. That's so sad. I also want to share a little something from the final scene of Fleabag that I think adds so much more context and is so sad. It's not actually to do with the priest. So I'm going to read a stage direction from the script. Because yes, I own the Fleabag scripts. That's the kind of thing I spend my money on. Okay, so this is the part after the priest has walked away. The fox trots off after him. Fleabag sits there. She opens her bag and pulls out the statue. She looks at it. Her golden mother sat with her at a bus stop in the middle of the night. Just the two of them. I'm sorry, what? I didn't think about it like that when I was watching it. I guess subconsciously I did, but it was more kind of like, she took the statue because it's her mum. But I didn't really think about the fact that when she pulls it out and sits with it, she's sitting alone in the middle of the night with just her mum. Oh my God, it makes me want to cry. So yeah, just thought I'd share that. Not relevant to the Fleabag and the priest, but it just makes the end even more depressing. So there you go.
I just want to cry all the time.
So those are my thoughts on Fleabag, and specifically Fleabag and the priest's relationship. Let me know if you guys have any other points that I didn't talk about, whether you disagree with me completely. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.